So there was a question on one of my videos, and it was dealing with the video that I had done recently, where I was talking about just kind of building up a crime stat reputation and just carrying it on and on and on. You may notice that that crime stat reputation is now gone, and that really is just a reflection of the current state of the game. And it's not because it was erased, or I went and erased it, or I went to prison or anything like that. It's simply because of the very reason that you're about to see on screen now. This is the tail end of the footage that you would have seen on Friday's episode when I was out doing missions. The game is basically 30K'ing me, and I didn't erase my crime stat reputation. I just logged in one day and it was gone. And I just went, oh, okay. I think it happened with the last patch, and I just went, oh, what's the point? When you come into the game with these grand ideas of things that you want to do or things that you want to try, Star Citizen in its current state, just prior to the release of 3.13, so anybody watching this video like a year from now or whatever will understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is within the context of the current game, is just like Star Citizen will find ways to kind of just fall flat and disappoint you right now if you have grand plans or grand ideas. And that's certainly what happened there. But in the future, would do I think that a negative pirate reputation, either through players or through the in-game systems, is going to be like a heavy duty thing that I might want to kind of get rid of or something like that? Well, the player reputation is not overly concerning to me. Certainly, like in-game reputations, like in the background, you see me doing a lot of these missions for pirate factions in the game, and you may wonder, why are you doing those? They don't really pay out all that much. And that's kind of banking on the idea that the reputation system is going to be broadened in the future, and there may be some rewards or some special unlocks that kind of go along with this. So in the end, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Maybe I make a few extra UEC here and there from it. Cool. But I kind of bank on that reputation system possibly paying out at some point in the future. A funny side note to this is that I've shown a little bit of footage here and there from Elite Dangerous when I'm talking about things in Star Citizen. I've actually reputation unlocked the Federal Corvette in Elite Dangerous. I'm just doing other things. And so, that's a ship that's available to me. I could go buy it tomorrow. Well, I could buy it. Fitting it would be a bit of a different story. Fitting it, that's kind of a gargantuan task, at least for me. So, and I don't really play that game all that much, so I'm not really kind of devoted to it now. But who knows with Odyssey? But to get back on track. So reputation systems are certainly something that I have my eye on in the game. My question is how much is that reputation system going to impact me as a player on a day-to-day basis? Now, certainly, I'm kind of looking to build up these pirate reps, but at the same time, I'm also conscious of the fact that I might start to develop negative reps with Crusader, with ArcCorp, with Hurston. And that may impact the availability of certain items or certain weapons or equipment to me. Now, many of you know that I have a second account, and that account is kind of like a counterbalance to that possible effect, so I can kind of get the best of both worlds. And so let's say that Hurston Dynamics comes out with a brand new weapon or a missile or a shield or something. I can go, and with the other account, I can go and purchase that, and hopefully at some point in the future transfer that to Minion Soldier, and then he can use that. And that's kind of why those two, or one of the reasons why those two accounts exist instead of just one. But I mean, I'm not really too worried about reputation in terms of like what other players think of me. I'm more worried about like the day-to-day impact of in-game reputations and how that will, how that will make my gameplay feel. How hard is CIG going to come down on like pirate gameplay in the Star Citizen universe within the confines of lore? Like, if I get to a certain point where I've attacked so many ships in Stanton, or I've run so many drugs in Stanton or something, that every time I jump through from Pyro to Stanton in the future, every time I jump through that warp gate or whatever they're calling it, wormhole, that there's like 15 cops waiting for me on the other side all the time. Every time I jump or I drop out of Quantum, there's a Javelin or an Idris waiting for me or something like that. That's going to be very much one of the driving factors behind whether or not I just maintain those reputations or take other means to erase them. And also having the second account and having a herald on that account with the potential for hacking, and CIG having talked about removing crime stat for other players and whatnot, I do have the facilities, I believe, to mitigate a lot of those concerns. But if I only had the one account, I would definitely be a lot more seriously concerned about the impact of reputations. It seems like that is going to be one of the big kind of levers that CIG uses to kind of not control but shape gameplay. If you understand what I'm saying. CIG doesn't seem like they're really positioning themselves to be in a place where they're going to immediately intervene on what some people might call negative player behavior. But I feel that they're building the game systems around a point where too much of that behavior and just your day-to-day gameplay could become untenable, or such a pain in the ass that you just don't bother anymore. But that the NPC reputations is something that I've kind of built my work around. I've got that. I'm not overly concerned about it. Player reputations as well, I'm not overly concerned about it, because I've said it before in other videos. Certainly, years ago I said it, and it garnered a bit of a negative reaction when I said it. But in terms of multiplayer in Star Citizen, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that CIG can truly deliver. There's a number of reasons why, and I'll kind of give a couple of examples, but I almost to a point feel that where we're going to end up is not unlike Elite Dangerous, where there's a limited multiplayer option, there's a group kind of cooperative play option, and there's a solo play option. And all of those kind of, you can just step in and out of them as you choose. I almost feel that Star Citizen is going to go that way, and not because we should make it safe, like a safe space or anything like that. I think that it's going to go that way because there are so many issues with multiplayer persistence that CIG, I don't think that they can solve. Now, let me give you an example. So I'm going down to this base here to pick up a package for a mission, right? And let's say this base were your base, right? Your base on Daymar. And I decide that I want to attack it. Now, there's this thing, and we've talked about it before, it's called instance locking, which is in very specific situations when games are set up a certain way. If you know what that instance population limit is you can stack the instance. You can basically say, okay, if the limit is 50 players, then I'm going to bring in 50 friends. I'm going to recruit 50 people to basically come in and destroy your base. The reason being is that because that instance is fixed at 50 players, I can basically exclude you from being able to log into your own base in an instance where I am with my fleet. So we would exist in parallel universes, but you wouldn't be able to impact me. Now that's the unlikely scenario of, Star Citizen having hard player limits. But I mean, it's possible, but very unlikely. The more likely scenario would be something similar, which is soft instance locking, which is I can come in with 50 players and I can start attacking your base, but everyone that you bring in to defend that base, friends and, colleagues or whatever, when they warp in and they try to come into that base, they're going to be faced with loading everything, all the ships, all the weapons, all the weapon fire, all the effects, everything. They're going to have to load all of that at one time. And depending on how the game performs, which is an area that Star Citizen is certainly not exemplary, you're going to be faced with, certainly a vulnerability, a pretty severe vulnerability, especially if you're coming in onesies and twosies and threesies. And you're just getting hit with this big old, now you got to load all these ships, all these people, all these players, all these, everything that's going on. That's probably the more likely scenario of what CIG would do. And so those people would be extraordinarily vulnerable. So if you bring a lot of people, either way, you can severely tilt things in your favor. So I'm not exactly sure how CIG is going to balance all of those things, but just because of that, the simple fact that, multiple players can occupy the same space but not be in the same instance, which is ultimately more or less how Star Citizen is going to work. I'm not overly concerned that the person or people who are out to get me are going to be in the same instance I'm in, There's certainly going to be enough ways to kind of work around that. So I'm not really overly concerned about player reputations. And the in-game reputations, I believe I have a fairly viable workaround for those. So I feel that I'm good. So I might just let it, just let it go. And just let it go as far as it can go. And then, if I do get stopped or arrested or captured or whatever, and the game says, oh, you've got to go to prison for 13 hours, to serve your time for however many murders and robberies and all this stuff like that, I'll just be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just take a day off, right? And it's probably got something I can do in another game, so whatever. Play Cyberpunk for a day, no big deal. So I'm not too concerned about it. It depends. A lot of it depends. Once again, it's like so many things. It depends on what CIG does, and certainly what we're seeing now is probably not indicative of how things are going to be in the end. There's multiple different ways that you can take those two kind of scenarios that I kind of outlined earlier. There's many different paths that CIG could try to take, and they may end up fumbling in the dark for a long time trying to figure out how to make all these things kind of work nicely together. But it is what it is. It's going to be whatever it's going to be. So right now, the way things are looking, I'm not overly concerned about having, a bad reputation, whether it's amongst players or amongst, NPCs in Star Citizen. I'm not overly concerned. But, once again, subject change. But yeah, so anyways, that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.